Welcome back everybody to Hayes Tech. My name is Dave Hayes and this is a channel where we talk about pretty much anything tech. For those of you that's been with me for quite some time, you do know that when I say anything tech, I could be talking about anything. From cars to cameras to guitars and music tech. So, you know, I just like tech. Now, I've had some questions from some of you about starting up your own channel and what camera should I get? Well, I'm going to tell you what. It doesn't matter what camera you get, it's all about content. But the questions that were brought up about what cameras should I get were always, should I get a DSLR or should I get a video camera? And if I get a video camera, what kind of video camera should I get? Well, on this video, we're going to discuss that, and I'm going to try to keep it short and to the point and just try to give you guys as many examples between a video camera and a DSLR as I can. So don't go away. I promise this won't be long and I will try to keep it interesting. And as always, if you liked my video, don't forget to hit that like button and share my videos. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you saw, think about subscribing. And if you subscribe, don't forget to hit that notification bell icon. That way you get a notification of my videos as soon as I release them. Okay, so before we get started, for those of you that haven't already heard, as soon as I hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away my Canon T6i, and it's going to go with this 18 to 55 millimeter lens that actually came off of my Canon 90D over there. So I'm going to be letting this go to somebody as soon as I hit 5,000 subs. So if you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, I want to talk about the differences between DSLR, basically an interchangeable lens camera, and video cameras. Now, right here, you're looking at me on my Panasonic, my new Panasonic. And the reason I got it was because it does shoot in 4K. But for those of you that also have been following my channel know that I also have a Canon 90D, which is viewing me right now, and it also shoots in 4K without a crop, none of that stupid crap from Canon, and it has face detect for as far as autofocus goes, and I love that camera. On this camera right here, this is my Sony Handycam. Now, it only shoots in 1080p, but let me tell you what, it's got outstanding video quality. As long as you do your part on the lighting, it'll do its part in the recording. Trust me. I mean, you can see me right now. Now, I will tell you one thing. Video cameras on the lower price end, like this Sony Handycam, they do a lot better outside than they do inside. Okay, this is not an inside camera. This is a camera that you want to take on vacation, you're out fishing, whatever. That's what this camera right here was made for, okay? But that doesn't mean you can't use it for a YouTube camera. That doesn't mean you can't use it indoors. Just make sure that your lighting is correct. And then we move over here, and this is my M50, and man, do I love this camera. But now, this camera's, I guess, direction where they were trying to push people to was 1080p video quality and basically high quality photography, okay, because it does take very nice pictures. Now, the video quality on this camera, even though we're shooting in 4K right now, was really designed for 1080p. And when you want to shoot in 4K, you get a really massive crop, meaning it cuts in on the video. Because right now I'm running my 10 to 22 millimeter lens, and I've got it zoomed out. If I was shooting in 1080p on this camera, it would have a much, much wider view. Also, when you shoot in 1080p on this camera, it's got dual pixel autofocus, just like my Canon 90D, and it works great. You never have to worry about your autofocus when you're shooting in 1080p on the M50, and I still highly recommend it today. With that being said, then what camera should I use? What camera should I go for? Well, that all depends on what you're going to do. Alright, seriously. If you are a one-man show like me, okay, you don't have somebody else running the camera for you, and you don't have a lot of funds to get people to do that stuff for you, I don't recommend a camera like the 90D. Even though I've used it for pretty much every video I've made for the last 6 months, I still would recommend going for something like either the Sony Handycam over here, or even my Panasonic HC-VX 981 right over here. Now I'm going to forget that throughout the video, so from now on I'm just going to call it my Panasonic 4K video camera. I mean, you guys can see the 4K quality right now. This thing is outstanding for video quality. Even if I didn't have all these studio lights up, this thing would do an awesome job. It really would. It handles light very good in, especially low light, especially, it's shooting indoors. So this camera I can recommend when you're shooting indoors. But also, guys, don't forget to use, sunlight for your camera lights, because nothing beats sunlight. You can have all the video lights in the world, and it's not going to do anywhere near the quality that you're going to get from natural sunlight, okay? As a matter of fact, sometimes natural sunlight's a little too much, and sometimes you have to filter down. Like, I have my shades shut, and if I had these shades opened up, it would be way too much light, and everything would look stupid. This is going to give you an idea of what the differences in some of the cameras are. My shirt is a kind of like a peach color, okay? So I think this one really picks the color up. Now my 90D, here's the colors you guys can expect from it, and now I just turned down the ISO on that all the way down to 250. I could have probably dropped to 100, but I didn't want to go too dark on the face tones. But there, you guys can see the differences in the video color from the Panasonic to the Canon. Okay, and then we jump over to my Sony Handycam. And again, the Sony Handycam is really picking the colors up pretty good. I think it looks pretty damn good. Everything looks good. It might be a little grainy because, again, that's 1080p. This isn't shooting in 4K. Then we go over to my M50, and you guys can see, the color variations in the M50. And I think the M50 does a pretty nice job too. But if you look at the M50, and then you look at the Canon 90D, and you can see that colors look really close to each other. Whereas the colors on the Panasonic and then the colors on the Sony, yeah, they don't look anywhere close to each other. Actually, the Sony looks a little more like the Canon's, only it's a little bit, I guess, darker in the backgrounds. But my whole point here is you can use camcorders for making videos. You don't need to go out and purchase a DSLR. You just don't have to do that. Okay, let's talk about price. Now, for my Panasonic video camera over here, this thing I bought on eBay, okay? That doesn't mean you're going to get it brand new. It's about $750. But I picked this up for about $420 on eBay. That is a freaking steal. I mean, that's a bargain. It's going to be hard to find one for that price. But even for its price of $750, it's worth it. When we look at my Canon 90D over here, now it costs $1,300 with a kit lens. That's a lot of money, but you get to change out lenses with it. But then you have to ask yourself, do I really need to change out lenses on my channel? Do I have a channel that requires me to change these lenses out and purchase all kind of crazy high-end lenses? You have to ask yourself that. You're the one that has to make that decision. Or you look at something like the Sony over here. The Sony, about $225. It's got a flip-out screen. It's got pretty good audio. And so you have to ask yourself this. Would this camera work on the channel that I have in mind? Again, I can't make that decision for you. All I can do is show you what is out there and let you make that decision. Of course, there are other options like the M50. You can get this M50 used right now for about $350. They're everywhere because everybody's upgrading now, and everybody wants, something that'll shoot in 4K that has that dual pixel autofocus. So the M50's kind of going by the wayside, but I'm telling you guys right now, this is one hell of a camera to get. If you got a YouTube channel and you're on a tight budget, but you want an interchangeable lens camera, you can't beat the M50. Especially if you're only going to be shooting in 1080p. Wow, this thing is phenomenal in 1080p, and I can still highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, I am going to be doing a video on this camera here real soon. It's going to be like the M50 in 2021. Is it still worth it? And I really want to go over this camera to let you guys see what you can get in an M50, in 2021. So again, I don't want to make this video too long, but what we're going to do is I'm going to take each of these cameras outside and I'm just gonna kind of do like an outside type vlogging situation, let you guys see what it looks like running and gunning that way, and then we'll just go ahead and close this video out. Again, I don't want to make this a very long video, so let's go ahead and take these cameras outside and see what they look like. Okay, so here we are, we're outside. I'm letting you guys see what it looks like when you're shooting outdoors. Now here's where camcorders shine, especially if you're shooting with automatic settings, and that's where I recommend, if you're new to shooting YouTube videos or any videos at all, experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment, but if you're going to put that content out and you're not quite sure what you're doing, go with all automatic settings, okay? The Sony Handycam, which you're viewing me on right now, shoots in 1080p. Now, I'm shooting this in 1080p, 60 frames per second, which means I can actually slow this down into slow motion video. So if I was to spin around, so watch here, I'm going to spin around. Okay, now I'll slow that down in post and let you guys see what that looks like. You can't do that when you're shooting in a lower frame rate like most of these DSLRs are in 4K, okay? My Canon 90D shoots in 4K 30, my Canon M50 shoots in 4K 30 frames per second. So the only time you're gonna get slow motion footage out of them is if you drop down to 1080p anyway, so there you go. But what I wanted you guys to see was the video quality out of this camera. Now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna walk and I'm gonna have Noah follow me, and you're gonna see what the image stabilization looks like on this camera. So now you guys can see what the image stabilization looks like on this camera, and it should actually be pretty good. The Sony Handycam is one of the few cameras on the market that comes with image stabilization built right into the camera, and it actually works great. So there you go. What do you say we go ahead and jump to our next camera, which is going to be the Canon M50. All right, now I did drop down to 1080p, and the reason that is because I wanted that good autofocus to work. I'm not running this camera. Now, if I would be running this camera, I'd have it on a tripod, I'd have it on manual focus, and that way I could, you know, keep track of the focus just by using peaking and stuff like that. But I have somebody else running this, and say you wanted your girlfriend, your wife, you know, your grandson, and you didn't want them to have to worry about it being crystal clear, then drop down to 1080p, because this camera is awesome in 1080p. But the problem with DSLR cameras is it's very bright out. Now normally I would shoot this camera in manual mode, and I would set my ISO and all that all manually. But I had to turn the f-stop all the way up to its maximum setting in order to block out the sun. Now I could alleviate that by putting a filter on the lens, but again, I don't have to do that with my camcorders. Everything works. It just works. So, you know, there you go. Now we're going to go ahead and walk with this camera, and I want you to see what the stabilization's like on this camera, because let me tell you what, it's not that good. Canon does not put a lot of image stabilization in their lenses or in their cameras on the M50. The only stabilization you're going to get is in the lens itself, and let me tell you what, you don't get that much stabilization in these lenses. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the Panasonic camcorder. I'm going to let you guys see what that looks like. So let's go ahead and jump over onto the Panasonic camcorder. Okay, now we are going to my brand new camera, and this is my Panasonic HC VX981. See, I can see that because it's right on the flip out screen. My whole stroke brain forgets the model number. Anyways, this is a camcorder, okay? Where this camcorder differs from this one is that's got a sun shield on it, so that's going to kind of block out any glare that might glare on the screen. Plus, this one shoots in 4K, this one only shoots in 1080p. Does that really give you an advantage? I don't think so. Most videos today are shot in 1080p or less, and most videos that are watched in, what, no, 720p or less? I asked Noah the other day how often he watches videos in 4K, and he said hardly ever. And people just don't do that, especially on a phone. You don't see the difference in video quality between 720p, 1080p, or 4K on a freaking cell phone. Maybe on a tablet, maybe. Where that really comes into play is if you're watching your videos on like a 65-inch, you know, 4K flat screen like what we have, then the 4K option is probably your best choice. I don't like watching videos in anything but 4K. Yeah, I do watch 1080p videos, but there I'm getting off of the topic again. But this is a video camera. So I am also running this camera with all automatic settings. So all the lighting settings are all automatic. So anytime it starts to get bright, this camera is going to adjust. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go for a walk with this camera and let you guys see what that looks like. So one thing I will say about this camera here is the image stabilization on this camera is phenomenal. Even in 4K, the video, you know, the shakiness and all that, you can completely get rid of. If I was to run right now, you'd be able to see it, but just walking along, you notice Noah is walking and there's not much bounce at all. It's just nice and smooth, and that's what it should do. There are a lot of features on this camera. I'm not going to get into that on this video. I'm going to save that for the video I do for this camera on its features and settings. And look for that video to come here in about a week or two. You know, depends on how long it takes me to edit this video. But this is probably going to be your best representation of a video camera for you guys to decide whether or not you want video camera or DSLR. So next, we're going to go ahead and jump to my Canon 90D, and let's go ahead and turn that baby on and let you guys see what that looks like. Okay, now we are looking at the Canon 90D, and this is, besides my new Panasonic camcorder, this is my favorite camera of all time. I love this thing. But again, this is a professional camera, or they call it a semi-professional camera. In my opinion, for me at least, it's a more professional camera. But that's what I like about it. It lets me experiment, and that's how I learn how to use and shoot with video cameras like this DSLR. Now, where you really lose on it, again, is I do not have filter on this, so I can't get a blurry background. I'm shooting in AV mode just so this really bright sun doesn't blow out the shot. Also, you're not going to get that really nice image stability that you get with a video camera through this DSLR, and the reason is because, you know, I only paid $1,300 for it. Now, if I pay $2,500 on, you know, on a higher end Canon camera that has image stabilization built right into the camera and the lens, well then, you know, then you'll see a little bit of a difference. One thing you've got to remember, video cameras were made to shoot smooth videos. That's what they were designed for. You can shoot videos on those cameras for hours, and as long as you have battery and an SD card and there's still room on that card, it'll keep right on recording. Cameras like this, your batteries run out quick, your cameras heat up on you, you know, just all kinds of issues. This camera was made to take pictures and videos. The video cameras were made to take video, and that's it. Yeah, you can take pictures. Those pictures suck. I don't care what they advertise, they suck. Okay, so quickly we're going to do a little walk on this, and we'll let you guys see what the image stabilization looks like on the 90D. So you just keep up with me, Noah. So he's actually walking now. He's giving you an idea of what the image stabilization looks like when he walks. And there you go. So I hope you guys kind of got an idea of the differences between a DSLR and a video camera. If I had to choose, it would be a tough one. I like them both. But if I were new to shooting cameras, I'd just go with a video camera. If I had a little more experience, I'd probably go with one of these. You can do more things with this camera than you can the video camera. But the great thing about a video camera is you've got that super zoom and good video quality. Okay, well, I was editing the video, and as a matter of fact, I had it to the point where I was ready to hit the upload button, and something was just bugging me about this video. So I'm going to throw this ad in here. And this add-in is going to be right before the closer, alright? Because I already had my music on. I had this thing done. So I've got to kind of split it somewhere. What I want to do is I want to take these cameras out, the 4 cameras that we are showing in this video, and I'm going to add my Canon T6i to the mix, and I'm going to put them on a rig like I usually use when I'm vlogging. And I'm going to go outside and I'm going to act like I'm vlogging with these cameras to let you guys see, you know, actually what this looks like if you were going to purchase these cameras for vlogging, okay? So I'm going to be walking with them and talking. Now the microphones, I'm going to be using whatever microphones I have. I'm not going to use my Zoom H1N and my lapel mic. I want to try to use the audio coming from the cameras. Now my Sony over here, I'm going to let you guys hear the audio from the Sony camera. I'm not going to record any extra audio, okay? So the audio from the Sony might not be as good a quality as what's going to come from the rest of these cameras. But what I'll be doing is on my 90D, I'm going to have my Rode video mic on that. I'll probably use my Takstar on this one, maybe. I will have to use some kind of recording device for this because, again, this is the camera I'm giving away. And remember, I told you guys before that the microphone jack in this does not work. This is the only thing in this camera that doesn't work. Now, the inbuilt microphones work great, but you guys know what inbuilt microphones from a DSLR sounds like. They suck. So I want to at least have some good audio for this. What do you say we take all these cameras outside and I'm just going to vlog with them? I also want to do a zoom test. Now I'm not going to show you guys the zoom on all of these cameras. I'm just going to show you the zoom between my Canon 90D and this one. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have a 18 to 135 millimeter lens on this one. So this one here will zoom out quite a ways. And of course this one here has its standard zoom, and I'm only going to use its 20 times zoom. That's all optical. I'm not going to use any digital zoom on the Panasonic. So I've kept you guys long enough. Let's head back outside and I'm going to show you guys what these look like in a self-held position and not have my grandson Noah be my photographer for me, okay? So we're going to do this as if I was doing this all by myself. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Okay, so here we are on the Sony Handycam. I think it's called a Handycam. It's my Sony, and we are shooting in 1080p. It is very, very bright sunlight out today. Now, this is what the audio sounds like coming out of the Sony right now. Audio test 1, 2, 3. Audio test 1, 2, 3. And I may use it. I'm not 100% sure. It depends on what it sounds like. But if it sounds bad, we're going to go ahead and switch back to the main audio, which is my Sony lapel mic, which you guys all know about, and my Zoom H1N audio recorder. And like I said before, if you guys are looking for something to record your audio in and you want something that's really, really good for not a whole hell of a lot of money, I do recommend getting the Zoom H1N. That's the cheapest of the Zoom audio recorders. I think it's like 85 or 80, it's under $90. And then grab yourself a Sony mic like the one right here. They are still on Amazon right now for under $20, okay? And they record in stereo, and they are freaking awesome, awesome mics. So here you go. You guys can see what I look like recording, you know, outside vlogging on the Sony Handycam. And let's go ahead and move on over to the Canon M50. Okay, I'm recording on the Canon M50 now, and I do have a filter on it, so you guys can see what it looks like. We are shooting in manual mode, and I am shooting in 1080p. Why am I shooting in 1080p? When you shoot in 1080p, you get the best autofocus, and actually I can see it right now. It is, it's got a square around my face, and it is really locked onto me. So the audio you guys are hearing is coming through my Takstar. Why didn't I use my Rode video mic? Well, through all the tests that I've done, my Rode video mic records in mono, not stereo. Now, I don't know if That's the way it normally records, or if there's something wrong with it. And I wanted something that recorded in stereo. So I decided to throw the Taxar on, and this is going to be the audio that we listen to the M50 on. So this is what it would look like if you were using the M50 for a vlogging rig. You could use this camera just handheld, okay? Depending on what lens you use. Now, right now, I have my 11 to 22 millimeter on it. It is an extremely wide-angle lens, and this is basically for vlogging, okay? Or if you like to do landscape shots, that's what this lens is for. But again, that is what is so cool about the M50. And I'm going to do another video. It's going to be coming out here real soon on the M50 in 2021, because this is a very underrated camera. If you don't mind shooting in 1080p and not 4K, you guys really should look into the Canon M50, I'm telling you. Okay, so this is what it would look like, and yeah, it's a little dark because, like I said, I'm running a filter on it, which is nice. I can put a filter on it. I'm running a filter on it, and if I did not have this filter on here, I would have to run it in its all automatic settings. And believe me, if I ran it in AV mode or something like that, it would just, it looks good, but you don't get any blurry backgrounds, you don't get anything like that. Of course, you're not going to get that with this lens anyways. This is, I think, an f3.5 or an f4. You can't really get a really nice blurry background with this lens. I'm not saying you can't completely, but for the most part, you know, it is what it is. So what do you say we go ahead and jump on over to my Panasonic camcorder and see what that looks like as a vlogging camera. Okay, we are now recording on the Panasonic, and I just wanted you guys to see what it looks like if you were going to use this camera as a vlogging camera. You know me, I love my 90D, but if I would have thought this through a while ago, I would have probably went with a good quality video camera as opposed to going with a DSLR. DSLRs have their advantages, don't get me wrong. Wow, they have some major advantages over video cameras. But, you know, it just does not, the DSLR, unless you really know what you're doing, you can really screw things up. With a video camera, it's point and shoot. And with a camera like this one that gives you some manual controls, because this is kind of like a semi-professional camera, it's not like my Sony, okay? It's not like the Handycam. This camera, you can actually change your ISO, your f-stop, stuff like that. Of course, they don't call it that on video camera, which is weird. Video camera and cameras have completely different languages. I don't get that. Again, I'm just letting you guys see what it would look like if you were out vlogging with it, you know, running and gunning. And, you know, I really didn't do that yesterday. Yesterday, basically I had Noah, you know, be my cameraman and follow me around, and that really doesn't show the video stabilization that you get. Now, normally I have the camera on a tripod. It's my Manfrotto, super, super light tripod. And what I do is I just set the camera right on my hip and walk. But sometimes you get like a wobbling effect. I look like I have one really long leg. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just hold the camera out, and now it just looks like I'm walking really smooth now, see? So there you go. By the way, I'm not running any filters on this. It's a video camera. We don't have to. And if you spend a little money and get the more professional versions of this camera, they actually have built-in ND filters. So, you know, I may actually sell my 90D and get a more professional video camera. We'll have to see. But for now, let's go ahead and move on over to the Canon 90D, and I'll let you guys see what that looks like. So Okay, here we are. This is my Canon 90D, so you guys are getting a look at what that looks like. I do not recommend this as a vlogging camera. It's a big camera, and it's a heavy camera. But if you guys are young enough and you've got the arm strength for it, go for it. It's a little on the expensive side. You're looking at about $1,300, but you guys know this is my favorite camera, and it takes outstanding video. Now, one of the issues, and you guys are seeing it right now, to use this camera properly, you want to shoot in manual settings, okay? And it's manual mode. That way you can change your ISO, you can change all that yourself. That's going to let you be able to take advantage of all the aspects of the camera, okay? In manual mode. Now, you can shoot in AV mode and some of the other automatic modes, and the camera will do very well for you. But again, you don't get a blurry background, you don't get stuff like that. By the way, the audio that you're hearing right now is from the Takstar again. Again, my Rode video mic, I don't know what happened to it, but it will only record in mono, so. But, you know, like I said, DSLRs have their advantages, and they do. But, I mean, if you are just somebody out there looking for a vlogging rig, you know, I really, it's hard for me to say, you know, I recommend a DSLR because there's just so many things that you have to get with it. Lenses, that's just one of the things you need to get. I had to put an ND filter on this, okay? It's a bright sunny day, and if I'd be out here just shooting normal, you wouldn't be able to see me. This whole thing would be all blown out. But, you know, microphones. Again, the video cameras, they normally have built-in microphones. They're usually pretty good. But, you know, I don't recommend ever using the built-in microphones on anything. You know, it's just a decision you're going to have to make. Another advantage, I'm feeling it right now. The weight of this camera is heavy. That Panasonic video camera and my Sony video camera, they weigh less than a half a pound. I mean, they are super, super light. So, but here you guys can see the stabilization on it, what stabilization there is. There is a little bit of stabilization built into the camera and a little bit built into the lens. I don't think it's quite as good as what you're going to get from the video cameras, but, you know, it is what it is. So, what I want to do now is, I have one wild card I'm going to put on the bench here for you guys to see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take my Canon 90D and we're going to take my Panasonic, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between the zooms between these two cameras. Now remember, I'm running with an 18 to 135 millimeter lens on here, and I got it for a reason. I got it because it's got a really good zoom. So we're going to test out the zoom between my 90D and this lens, which is again my 18 to 135, and then we're going to check out the zoom on the Panasonic video camera, and we'll see which one we like better. So but first, let's go ahead and check out the T6i as a vlogging camera. Okay, as promised, I wanted you guys to see what my Canon T6i looked like as a vlogging rig. Now, this thing has no image stabilization at all. I do think it's advertised as having some in-lens stabilization, and yeah, this lens does have stabilization, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is not meant to stabilize video, okay? That kind of stabilization, all it does is take out the shake whenever you are snapping a picture, basically. Since I'm giving this camera away, I figured I would throw it in and let you guys see what it looks like. Now, I don't have a filter that fits this lens. This is a 58 millimeter lens, and so I'm shooting in AV mode. I don't recommend AV mode. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. AV mode is a good mode to use, especially if you need to take a video fast, or if you need to take a picture really fast and you don't have time to, you know, to change your ISO and your f-stop and all that. Throw it in AV mode and go, all right? I know a lot of people that do, so. But there you go. I'm not even going to let you hear the audio. Actually, here's the audio coming from the the T6i right now. Audio test 1 2 3, audio test 1 2 3. So there you go. I mean, if the audio sounds good as I'm editing this, I'll actually just use the audio from the camera. So there we go. I just wanted to let you guys see what the T6i looked like. Let's go ahead and get on with the zoom tests. Okay, so I have the camera pointing at those 5 antennas on top of that mountain over there. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom and go as far as I can with it, and we'll see what it looks like. And then I'll bring the video camera out and we'll compare the two zooms and see which one has a better zoom. Now this is a 135mm zoom. And of course, on a crop censored lens like this camera has, it's actually more like a 225mm zoom. So I can barely see them in the viewfinder, but there you go. So we're going to go ahead and bring the Panasonic over here and see how far we can zoom in on that mountain with the Panasonic. Okay, we are now going to use optical zoom only. Okay, this is 20 times optical zoom. I had to redo this test. The first one, for some reason, did not record. So we're going to zoom in on that same part of the mountain. And with just 20 times optical zoom, I can already see those antennas up there. There are 5 of them there. So there you go. This is the difference between the Canon 90D with its, 18 to 135mm zoom lens, and the Panasonic camcorder with its 20 times optical zoom. So we're going to go ahead and zoom back out, and let's go ahead and see what this looks like with its 60 times digital zoom. Okay, now this camcorder has 4 different zoom packages. You have your 20x optical zoom. It's just complete, zoom that's in the optics. The 2 optics move either closer together or further apart, which give you your zoom. Then they have the 25 times, which is digitally enhanced optical zoom. And I'm going to tell you what, I haven't seen any difference at all, at least with my eyes, between the 20 times and the 25 times. So if you're going to add any digital zoom to this at all, I recommend going with the 60. Leave the 1500 times completely out of it. It is total garbage. So here we go. We are at 60 times digital zoom. And let's go ahead and zoom back in where we were looking at. I'll try to do it smooth and slow, but that probably is not going to happen with my left hand. There we can see the antennas already. Now, that's right there is further than where we were before. Let's go ahead and go to the full 60 times. There. Now we're at 60 times, and of course this is digital zoom. From what I can see, it's not very clear, and you're not going to get a really clear image at that zoom with digital effects. I can tell you that right now. So, and don't touch your camera because you're going to get a lot of shake at this zoom. I'd say right about there is about as far as I would go with it. And, that's probably, if I had to guess, I'd say around, 40x. So, all right, there you go. I wanted to show you guys the different zoom levels on the cameras. I'm not going to show you the different zoom levels on every single camera because, they each have their own lenses on them. They're all going to be different. But I just wanted to show you the difference between a DSLR camera and a video camera. So there you go. Let's go ahead and finish this video out. Alright, well everybody, I hope I didn't keep you too long. I hope this video gave you a little bit of insight on whether or not to go out and purchase a DSLR or, a video camera. Either way, it doesn't matter if you get a video camera or a DSLR. It really all boils down to your content, okay? Most people are listening to your videos at work or whatever with headphones on, so they're busy working, listening to your video. And a lot of people that do watch your videos are actually watching those videos on their cell phones. Most people's cell phones, they're not watching them in 4K. Usually it's like 720p or even 480? You know, anyways, most people are not watching them in 4K anyways. So if you can get a camera that shoots in 1080p and looks good, then it doesn't matter, right? So you have to ask yourself, do I really need a camera that has interchangeable lenses, or could I get a video camera like this Panasonic that I don't need interchangeable lenses? Because, you know, if I want to zoom, I hit that zoom button and whoop, you know, it'll zoom right in. And the nice thing about these cameras is they also have an extra digital zoom, which will really zoom in, even though I don't recommend using them because they are digital and it looks like crap. But if you needed it in an emergency, it would do it, okay? The way I look at it, I say if you are a one-man show like myself, and you're new, or new to making videos, I recommend getting a camcorder because they are just so easy to use. DSLRs are awesome, and I would never tell anybody, no, don't go out and get a DSLR. The problem with that is after you buy the DSLR, then you got to start buying other stuff like lenses, okay? Because it usually only comes with one lens, and that lens is limited. It's got some zoom, but it doesn't have the zoom like you get on a camcorder. So you guys kind of got to weigh those options yourself. I recommend, if you're new to YouTube or if you're just new to making videos altogether, get a video camera. Make some videos, get some experience under your belt. Then, once you got that experience, if you have a little bit more money, or maybe you get a little bit more help on your channel, then you can switch to a DSLR. Don't get rid of that video camera though, because it's gonna come in handy for doing B-roll or for doing zoom shots or just for a second camera. Because remember, I did videos before about having multiple camera angles like we're doing now. We have 4 camera angles. It just breaks the video up and makes it look good. So that's pretty much all I have. I promised you I was going to keep it short and sweet, and we are going to close this out now. Don't forget, as soon as I hit 5,000 subs, I'm going to give away my Canon T6i to one of you out there. So if you're not subscribed, get subscribed. And don't forget to share my videos, because the sooner I get to 5,000 subscribers, the sooner I get to give that away to one of you. That's all I have. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one.